This episode of Skincare Confidential is sponsored by Ourself. Ourself is a science-first skincare company created by the founders of SkinMedica and Alastin. Leveraging 20 years of biotech and skincare expertise, Ourself developed a scientifically advanced delivery technology that redefines what's possible in cosmetic skincare. Utilizing patented tiered released vesicles, Ourself Hero products ensure deep ingredient delivery, sending larger molecules, powerful peptides, and all-in-one formulations directly to the layer of the skin where they're needed the most. As part of a complete powerhouse portfolio of daily regimen products, Ourself developed the first needle-free lip filler, clinically proven to restore volume by delivering hyaluronic acid into the lips topically. To learn more, visit www.ourself.com. Hi, my name is Dr. Ted Lane. I am your host today for Skincare Confidential, a podcast supporting the Science of Skincare Summit. That's an educational conference really focused on skincare occurring November 8th through the 10th in 2024 in Austin, Texas. Today, I am so excited to have as our guest Lauren Otsuki. So Lauren is the L in Glo Pharma. She is a biotech investor and an entrepreneur, and I'm just so excited to have her on. Thank you, Lauren, for being here.
Oh, absolutely, my pleasure.
Okay, so what an interesting kind of history you have. Okay, so a lot of time spent in biotech in diverse areas. How did that lead you to aesthetics?
Well, I think I originally got very interested in aesthetics for primarily personal reasons a little bit because I'm aging and I wanted some better products to use. And then as, I got more involved and working with our co-founder, Scott Glenn, I realized that there was a lot that we could contribute to the advancement of skincare products just by utilizing some of the practices and strategies that we had used very successfully in the life science, drug and device product development area. So that's kind of how we got there. But it's so exciting to work with products that you and your friends can actually use.
That's very true. Now, you were talking about Scott. I mean, we talked about Glo Pharma, right, which is a parent company for Ourself, and GLO is an acronym essentially. It's
Right,
Scott
right.
Glenn, and you're the O, and then who's the L?
Robert Love. And
Robert Love. Okay.
He's the protein structure-based design chemist that works for us.
Okay, gotcha.
And we've worked with him on numerous other oncology and drug development companies.
You kind of are the dream team in biotech and aesthetics is what it sounds like. The three of you guys really work well together.
Yes, absolutely. And, I've worked with Scott for 30 plus years. So,
Yeah.
And all of the companies that you named were co-founded with Scott Glenn.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So you were saying that you take kind of what you have used in the biotech industry and applied it to the aesthetic industry and skincare. Can we kind of dive into that a little bit more? Do you mean kind of like ingredient discovery, or do you mean more on the kind of delivery platform?
Well, I think that the ingredient discovery and delivery platform are part of the outcome of that, but it's really
Okay.
more looking strategically at the sector and
Oh,
saying, what is the unmet need in this
okay.
area? And
Okay.
how can technology or products address it? Is this a product or technology that we can develop and take to market? And is there a way to patent and protect this product
Sure.
and this technology? So those are kind of the real basic things that we apply. And, the concept of having a patent portfolio for an aesthetics cosmetic company was very novel when we were starting up Alastin. It's
Gotcha.
become much more accepted and is something that people are doing, but and it's at the heart of what we do in life science.
So you mentioned Alastin, and I kind of buried the lead there. Lauren helped start Alastin. She's a co-founder of Alastin, which many of us know was acquired by Galderma and has now gone worldwide. But before even Alastin, you were involved in SkinMedica, right?
Yeah, well, Scott Glenn and Windermere Venture Partners, which was our little seed financing firm,
Okay,
um, did some of the first investments with
with
SkinMedica
SkinMedica.
and followed it along. And then when we started Alastin, we had a lot of ex-SkinMedica people with us.
Yeah. And what was the genesis of Alastin? I mean, you and I were discussing this a little bit maybe last week, where, Alastin came from the idea that everybody was looking at these suppliers for ingredients, but you felt there was a way to have kind of homegrown ingredients that you could have the patents for and really protect.
Right, right. And I think if you roll back to what was the common thread amongst all of these, and
Uh-huh.
really whether it's SkinMedica, Alastin, or Ourself by Glo Pharma, it's really innovation and making sure that there's an innovation that's going to bring a product to the market that really wasn't in existence before.
Hmm.
And SkinMedica, they were the first people to ever put any science into their ingredients. That was
Oh,
just
wow.
such an eye-opening thing for the beauty skincare market. And that was this TNS serum that comes from the fibroblasts. It's the
Hmm.
supernatant off of fibroblast cultures, and they
Yeah.
took it, concentrated it, and stuck it in a product, and that was quite the revelation at the time. What we saw with Alastin was an opportunity. So the TNS product is a mixture of many different, whether they're cofactors, peptides, or other small proteins and molecules. Um,
Essentially, that which is made by the fibroblast, right?
Right, but not
Yeah.
necessarily well defined. There's
Okay.
like
Right.
thousands of things
Yes.
that are made by fibroblasts, and with Alastin, we were focusing. Well, first of all, we were focusing. The big unmet need was no pre and post procedure care
Hmm.
for the laser ablative treatments,
Hmm.
and we were looking at very pure peptides and other molecules to help with that pre and post procedure care. And that was the technology leap. Was we need to move into things that are specifically addressing this healing process that we want to help nurture in that pre and post care environment.
Yeah.
And I think that that specific targeting is something that other people didn't do quite until Alastin came along. Um,
Wow. So it's
and
just interesting, isn't it? Sorry to interrupt, but I'm just thinking about, I mean, disruption number one in the industry was SkinMedica looking at using actual science and the scientific method to apply to skincare, right?
right, right,
And maybe they didn't really understand everything that was involved in it, all the different ingredients included in that fibroblast growth media, but they understood how to test it clinically. And I think that was a big leap forward. And then leap forward number two that you were involved with is Alastin, where you realized that there was this, huge unmet need for peri-procedural, what we call integrated skincare, because we
right.
had all these great devices that were doing ablative and non-ablative work, but you realized that, with good skincare, you could prepare the skin pre and then reduce downtime post and augment results as well. So two disruptions that we've just talked about, just to set the ground for how
Yeah.
important you are in this field. Like twice we've disrupted the entire skincare industry. But I'm sorry I interrupted. Go ahead with Alastin, and you were saying that you found these individualized peptides, right?
Right, right. And we were very focused on certain mechanisms within the skin, and looking at, because of that, very specific peptides. Then, as we were working on Alastin and in between, Scott and I were talking about, if we did another company, what would we do? And one of the things that I always thought was an unmet need, from a technology perspective, was delivery system technology, because
Interesting.
you can make all the great ingredients in the world, but unless you can get them to the target, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So that, and that's part of, um, part of the thing that people that are developing drugs always pay a lot of attention to, right? It's
Right.
target occupancy, it's
Uh-huh.
all of that, and uh, it's not something that most people in on the cosmetic side look at very much. So
Yeah, because of PK and PD data, the topical therapeutics really think about how do they achieve penetration and overcoming the skin barrier. That kind of data is not required for topical skincare, right? They don't have to
that's
present anything
right.
to the FDA.
That's
Uh,
right.
and so they don't have to spend a bunch of time thinking about that. But to your point, in some ways, if you're formulating for post procedure where we've totally ablated the epidermis, it's not there. Worrying about penetration isn't that big of a deal.
Right. That's exactly right. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. And
But if you're doing something for daily use, like, Alastin now has progressed from just peri-procedural to more daily use products, then you got
mhm.
to start thinking about drug delivery and delivery systems, to your point.
Yeah, yeah, and that daily use product is really where we're focused,
Uh
right?
huh.
We want people to use our products every day to achieve what they want to achieve.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I completely agree with you. I get asked all the time, if I have a certain amount of money to spend, how should I spend it? Should I do a chemical peel? Should I do a laser treatment? And this is my budget for the year. And I truly believe this when I say I think the very best money you can spend is on your skincare that you use on a daily basis, because we have the data to show that we can achieve really great transformation of the skin, but it has to be used consistently.
Right.
And you will regress if you stop using it. It's like an investment that you make that you have to keep supporting. So I think I'm completely on the same page as you and Scott Glenn in terms of how you're thinking about ways to achieve change in the skin. It requires daily great skincare.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So as you've thought about, now you've gone from kind of these proprietary peptides, you've kind of focused on peri-procedural. Now as you said, okay, that's done. That's kind of, that baby is kind of growing up, and I'll let somebody else take over that. Now you're thinking about Ourself, right? And so you formed this new company, Glo Pharma, and Ourself is your first skincare line within Glo Pharma. Am I
Mhm.
right about that?
That's correct.
Okay. And let's talk about that now. Let's talk about this novel delivery system that you worked with. It kind of came from a professor's lab, right? Weren't we
Right,
talking about that?
right,
Uh-huh.
right. So at the very beginning, because we knew how important getting a good delivery system was to our strategy,
Uh-huh.
so that having a good delivery system not only allows you to, you know, get your ingredients to where they need to be, but because the kind of system that we have is so powerful and so flexible, it also allows us to put in much larger ingredients into the skin than other technologies can, which is
Mm-hmm.
a huge benefit for this kind of technology. But we did understand its importance, and we, in the early stages of the company, we probably spent 6 to 12 months looking at a lot of different technologies, whether from patents or from publications or other leads that we had, and then we chose 3 or 4 of the most promising technologies, and we built products with them, or we tried to build some products with them, and we ran various experiments and chose the delivery system that was able to encapsulate and deliver the optimum number of components. And it has turned into our tiered release vesicle. The scientist, as you pointed out, who worked on a lot of the development and is the inventor on the patent. We just got our first US patent on this product
Wow,
in
congratulations.
November of last year. And she's been working, I mean, this is her life's work. She's been working
Yeah.
in this field for 30 years. She's the head of nanotechnology at the University of Waterloo in Canada. And the early work that she did on transdermal delivery was done for insulin, antivirals, and some other large polar molecules. Like she did some experimental work with plasmid RNA, and
Hmm.
all of her published work was what gave us a little bit of assurance that we were going to be able to get some of the ingredients that we were very interested in to be delivered into the skin. And all of the experimentation proved it out, and that's how the tiered release vesicle was born.
So that this tiered release vesicle is the delivery system that underlies kind of the it's the foundational, I'm going to say ingredient, the foundational technology for Ourself, right?
Absolutely.
And
It's in all the hero SKUs. So the
okay,
lip filler, the HA replenishing serum, the HA replenishing eye serum, and dark spot intercept all have this tiered release vesicle. And the beauty of it is you can change the formulation slightly depending on the payload that you want to deliver, and
hmm,
you can deliver to different levels in the skin and very different classes of molecules. And
that's
that's the
just
beauty of
amazing. It's
this.
amazing to think about because you literally can dial in the level, the size, the concentration. It sounds like it really is so customizable that it almost kind of is mind-boggling in terms of the opportunity that this delivery system offers.
Absolutely. I think there are, the many, many, many things that we can
Right.
encapsulate. And also because the way the vesicle is formed, it can hold quite a bit of payload,
Okay.
like 5 to 6 to 10 times more than a liposome.
Okay. So a couple of things to talk about then. In terms of delivering through the stratum corneum, right? That brick and mortar model, which, as we know, the stratum corneum's sole job is to keep things out, essentially,
Right,
right?
right.
I mean, there are aquaporins, there are ways for small molecules to penetrate, but can you explain in relatively high level terms kind of how this vesicular system works to be able to overcome that stratum corneum?
Yeah, so we have what we call penetration enhancers, and the exact ratios of these, along with other lipids that we have in our formulation, are part of our patent.
Uh-huh.
And these enhancers interact with the mortar of the stratum corneum and turn it
Okay.
from a really solid surface into something that looks more like a sponge and has a lot of pores in it. And those pores are temporarily there as the vesicle is passing through, and then they close up back behind it.
Okay. So what a great analogy, right? It goes from kind of what would be a board almost into a sponge. And so
Yeah,
when you turn
yeah,
it into a sponge, you're able to achieve penetration. And many of the ingredients, well, some of the formulations have hyaluronic acid as the payload, if I can use that
right.
analogy as well. And hyaluronic acid isn't the easiest, right? Especially it
Oh,
has
no.
no. Let's talk about that because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean to use that as your first molecule is quite an achievement.
Yeah, well, the technology was demonstrated to be able to deliver plasmid RNA, which
Mm,
is like 4 million molecular weight. So it's
okay, so
gigantic and it's highly
huge.
polar. Okay.
Okay.
So we knew, and however, it is, tends to be in a sphere. So
Hmm.
it's a little easier to handle in that respect.
Hmm.
But yes, hyaluronic acid is very polar, very
Hmm.
water soluble, and it's long and difficult to manage because it's a long, long thread, if you
Yeah.
will. And in order for it to hold enough water to hydrate a layer in your skin, it's got to be about 50,000 molecular weight at the minimum.
Okay.
And we have in our product 50,000 and 250,000 molecular weight HA. And we've
Wow.
gone through a lot of laboratory work to demonstrate the penetration of those two species of hyaluronic acid.
Wow.
So the production of the product is a bit, it's highly technical and requires a lot of specialized training and whatnot to produce the product. But once you can do that, it's very reliable.
So, just to give people some context, right? When we talk about other products that have hyaluronic acid, we're talking about many products have either single or multi-weight HA,
Right.
but when we're talking about the multi-weight, it's usually kind of 2,000 to 3,000. And maybe 50 to 60 in the small molecular weight, with the idea is that the larger molecular weight HA tends to lay on the top of the skin. It doesn't penetrate well, and the smaller ones, the smaller molecular weight does penetrate because it's a much smaller molecule and it can help hydrate. But when you're talking about that huge size of a molecule, you can imagine the water binding capability, to your point, and the ability to quickly hydrate. And now I understand why you worked on the lips first, because it's a quick lip plump, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. So when you're able to deliver a humectant like that into the skin, or in the lip, it immediately draws in water and it becomes a much larger molecule, and that helps to give a plumping and lifting effect. And
Exactly.
yeah, and likewise for the skin, right? If you were to apply it consistently, you could help with fine lines and wrinkles feasibly, because you're increasing the turgor, or the plumpness of the skin, with especially in the dermis, that second layer where hyaluronic acid is one of the major components of the second layer of the skin. So this, just to give people an idea of what we're talking about, Lauren. So that's really incredible. And as you have moved forward now with your brightening serum, you've got other ingredients besides HA, right?
Right, right.
Okay.
So, you alluded to this a little bit in the previously, that we do have some innovative peptides, and
Yeah.
we have a couple of them that we have designed based on looking at some unique targets in the skin,
Hmm.
and because we have the L in Glo as part of our staff, we have the
Hmm.
capability to design different kinds of peptides that can work in this area. And that it sounds like it should be fairly straightforward, but it involves a lot of analytical expertise that you need to have to know that when you change, you have one sequence and you change it to another sequence, that it changes or doesn't change, improves or doesn't improve the potency of the little peptide that you made. And we usually make 12 to 14 amino acid peptides.
Okay, so very small, short chain peptides,
Short
essentially.
chain, but still in the um, 1,400 to 2,000 molecular weight, so way too
Okay,
large to ever penetrate
gotcha.
on their own.
Okay, gotcha. Hence the need for the vesicular system. Okay.
Right.
One of the big kind of themes, but innovations in skincare, maybe not so much of an innovation when you start thinking about SkinMedica 15, 20 years ago, but is exosomes, right? Which, as we talked about, is a liposomal, or nano liposomal, nanovesicular delivery system as well. SkinMedica's TNS serum probably works because of the exosomes that it has in it, if we're completely honest. And I think Rahul Mehta said that to us in a podcast episode. And so now we've got this vesicular delivery system. Can you explain to us how that differs from a naturally occurring exosome?
So because first of all, we have multiple layers. So
Okay.
we're about, I don't know, somewhere north of 15 to 20 layers within that liposome, all phospholipid. And we have captured in it these little packets that have the payloads that we're
Mm-hmm.
interested in delivering. So, and we can deliver about 5 to 6 and upwards of sometimes 10 times what you can get into a liposome, just because of the way we encapsulate
Okay.
the product. And
Okay.
also because liposomes themselves are a lipid bilayer, but the bilayer in and of itself has no special properties that allow it to penetrate.
Okay.
So, and because if you think about their genesis, right, they're made by cells that are already in the skin
Mm-hmm.
or in the body. So
Mm-hmm.
all they are is a lipid bilayer that packages up some certain things and then gets excreted out into the cellular matrix.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not geared to cross the stratum corneum,
Gotcha.
and whereas our engineered vesicles really, I mean, that's their job, to
Yeah.
cross the stratum corneum and carry a very big payload.
So it would minimize, I think, the science behind your vesicular delivery system to say they are biosynthetic exosomes. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I don't think we're exosomes. I mean,
Yeah.
exosomes just imply a whole different way of being manufactured, right? They're manufactured by the cell, whether
Yeah.
it's the fibroblast or the platelet. It's a cell that's making it. And I mean, anything that's coming from a biological system like that, a human biological system, has other factors that are at play.
Yeah.
So
So in other words, has RNA, DNA, and other biological molecules in there.
yeah, yeah.
Right, which
It,
may or may not be infectious and or may not be pro-inflammatory
yeah,
and
exactly.
yes.
It's
Yeah.
a whole different area of sort of biology, and I
Hmm.
think it's very clever to have that these people are using this stuff, but I think they work much better in situations where the skin is ablated.
Yes.
So you see them pairing exosomes with microdermabrasion or any
Yeah.
any sort of um, microneedling, other
Hmm.
kinds of procedures. But it doesn't really lend itself so much, that the exosome itself, because of its need for some sort of ablation, to everyday skincare, effective everyday skincare,
Yeah.
right?
No.
Because you need a method that's really practiced only in the doctor's office.
No, I totally understand what you're saying. And quite frankly, we don't have a lot of data to support the use of exosomes post-procedurally, like post-ablative. We need more data on that. I think anecdotally, we hear it from a lot of different people, but one would imagine something like your product with the vesicular delivery system that is, engineered to we know exactly what's inside of those vesicles. We know exactly how the vesicles are produced as well. We know what molecules are needed in order to cause penetration, maybe a little bit more sterile and maybe a little bit more safe as well, knowing that we know exactly from batch to batch what's inside. That's just me surmising that.
Well, certainly much more defined.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, much more defined. And I think that's defining is what we need in the exosome world as well, like defining exactly what's inside all the
Yeah.
exosomes and all of that. And there's a lot of work going on around that as well. Okay. So, thank you for going over everything there. And as we only have a couple of minutes left. And so I just wanted to kind of use all of your experience to help our listeners, right? If there's someone who has, let's say they work in a university, or they have access to technology through a colleague that they think, oh, this could be applied to the skincare space. What are the first steps for them? Like, how do you even get started? You've done this over and over, and so for you, this is kind of old hat. But for those just getting started, what is the first step to take a new technology and see if it can be applied to the skin for
Yeah,
skincare?
I think that you always have to start with the market and the market need, right?
Okay.
So you have to make sure that your technology and the area in which you're going to apply it represents a large potential market with an unmet need. And
Hmm.
your product has to address that need in a very meaningful way, meaning in a way that distinguishes it from whatever is the current practice. And if you, that's a huge first step. And, you've got to be cognizant of what the rest of the competition is doing, how it's
Yeah.
going to be received by the customer and the physician. And, I think from an investment perspective, it's always nice if there's some kind of pathway to patent protection.
Okay.
And a lot of times, unfortunately, people that are in universities they get tied up with the university tech transfer office and that aspect. I think also having done lots of financings for life science companies as
Hmm.
well as skincare companies, they're very different investors.
Okay.
And the kind of I mean, one of the things that makes some of the companies like Alastin and um, um, Glo Pharma um, a little more of a challenge to finance is that we invest a lot of money in R&D.
Yeah.
And many of the skincare companies and many of the investors who go into skincare investments aren't used to large R&D expenditures. But that's what you have to do if you want a product that works
Hmm.
and is differentiated and protected.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
just can't get that without spending some money on it. So, understanding who you're going to put the investment group together is really important.
You,
Um,
and it's just, I just want to highlight that, in skincare now, it's not just finding that ingredient from a supplier and putting it into perhaps a novel formulation or getting a celebrity name behind it.
yeah,
I think we have matured beyond that as an industry, and I think we have higher expectations for the science and the clinicals behind the products, and also the efficacy of the product as well. So, just to reiterate, it's going to take a patient investor probably in order to really develop something that can become successful, a la the Alastin line recently.
right, right. And also the other catch in all of this is because the science-backed skincare is kind of in between the more consumer-oriented kind of product and the
Hmm.
very life science-oriented product. The expectations of investors for the return that they're going to get is very different because life science drug development investors
Oh
expect
yeah,
very large returns.
right.
And on the other side, the returns aren't as large, but also the investment's not as big. So
Right.
that's why I'm saying you got to make sure you know who you're going to and how you're going to navigate that gap.
Okay. Make sure your investor understands the space, in other words.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Lauren, thank you so much. I so appreciate your time and your sharing your wisdom and experience with us. And I just thoroughly enjoyed it. I got to know much more about you and your experience and your history, and also how you view the skincare industry, which aligns with the way a lot of the doctors are viewing the skincare industry as well, as we realize its importance. So it's so great to see someone with such a very strong biotech and scientific background really kind of pushing the industry forward.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. We love to share the ourselves story. So if
Yeah.
you think of anything else you want to ask us, please throw your questions our way.
Okay, great. So that's Lauren Otsuki. She is one of the founders of Glo Pharma, and Glo has started a skincare line called Ourself, which is, I'm sure, available online. And this is Dr. Ted Lane. I am your host for today. Please, if you like the episode, give us a like, share, and subscribe as well. All right. Thank you, everybody. This episode of Skincare Confidential is sponsored by Ourself. Ourself is a science-first skincare company created by the founders of SkinMedica and Alastin. Leveraging 20 years of biotech and skincare expertise, Ourself developed a scientifically advanced delivery technology that redefines what's possible in cosmetic skincare. Utilizing patented tiered released vesicles, our Self Hero products ensure deep ingredient delivery, sending larger molecules, powerful peptides, and all in one formulations directly to the layer of the skin where they're needed the most. As part of a complete powerhouse portfolio of daily regimen products, our Self developed the first needle free lip filler, clinically proven to restore volume by delivering hyaluronic acid into the lips topically. To learn more, visit www.ourself.com.